Almost all of the water that Californians need starts as snowfall in the Sierras. It melts and makes its way down through various land uses, be it forest land, rangeland, cropland, and eventually into the Bay Delta. NRCS works hand in hand with agricultural operators to make sure that this water is available to those that need it throughout California. Be it a farmer in Fresno, a resident down in Los Angeles, or a vineyard up here in the Sierras.
Come on, Candy, let's go home. I'm Ann Johnson. I'm a fourth-generation wine grape grower here on our farm in El Dorado County, California. My great-great-grandfather began in the early 1900s. He started with some cows and some sheep and goats, and since then, my grandfather and now my father have gotten involved. When the grapes were originally put in the 1970s, overhead sprinklers were the standard means of irrigating grapes. In fact, as a kid, I moved portable irrigation pipe through the vineyard. So these are our overhead sprinklers that we're continuing to use for frost protection, but this is how we irrigate the grapevines now. Through our partnership with NRCS and their EQIP cost-sharing program, we've been able to convert the vineyard from overhead sprinklers to drip irrigation with a water savings of 20%. Water is a very important issue for any rancher, and that's especially true for a wine grape grower.
We have to check and make sure that the pipes are large enough to handle the extra water that's going to be required for that block.
You know, NRCS came out several years ago and helped us create a conservation plan for our ranch. It was great because they listened to what our ideas were and issues that we wanted to focus on, and then gave us tools for our toolbox so that we could put into practice some of those ideas, the drip irrigation being the primary one.
If more farmers could switch to efficient irrigation systems like these, we'd save a lot of water in California.
We know that the water can better get to the roots, and also they're not using more water than is needed, and so the crops are healthier, and it makes more water available for downhill users.
This water tank has been here my whole life. I assume my grandfather put it together.
Water for a place like this is everything. Water grows the grass, and without grass, you can't raise cattle. So you have to make sure that you manage your land and your water.
I'm George Forney. I'm 60 years old, and I've lived on this ranch all my life.
And I'm Tony Forney. I'm married to this guy, and we're ranchers in El Dorado County, California. One of the things we do here is rotational grazing. Rotational grazing essentially means that you're moving animals from one area to another area.
There's something for you.
It allows you to manage your ground better so that you're not overgrazing in one particular spot. And when you move them to that other area, everybody requires water. You just can't move them to a dry pasture. You've got to move them to a water source.
Here's the trough.
So that means we've put in stock tanks so where they're drinking water above ground rather than standing in their own water. And then they come into a nice area with good grass, and they continue to eat there for, say, approximately 30 days.
You'll be able to manage each of the specific grasses that are in those fields more closely.
What NRCS has done for us is allowed us to make sure that every one of our pastures has a good water source.
Straight out to the southern fence line going that way.
And they also offered financial assistance.
I'll get it all documented in your plan.
We had to put up money too, but they came in and offered to help us with creating a better fencing plan, and they helped us put in a well. We couldn't have done it without their help, basically. And it wasn't a handout as much as it was a leg up.
The applicants from the EQIP program are chosen for environmental benefits to the taxpayer. In other words, the lowest cost for the maximum amount of environmental benefit. Where I'm standing now was all brush, 10, 15 foot tall, when Jeremy came to our office for assistance.
I'm not a farmer. I'm not a rancher. I'm born and raised in New York City. My wife was born and raised in Oakland. You know, our idea of a tree is a lemon tree in the backyard, right? So this is new to us. My name is Jeremy Wagner, and I'm a forest landowner in El Dorado County, California. You can see tiny little pine trees. Look at how tiny that one is. Since 2004, we've planted 18,000 trees on the property. That would not happen purely out of my pocket. Without NRCS, I might have been able to do a section of it, but I would not have been able to do 200 and whatever acres.
This brush has all been treated with a masticator where it is ground up to make a good planting medium.
25 years from now, it's going to look like that for 250 plus acres. And that's exciting. It's exciting to hike through. It's exciting to look out. It's exciting to know that you're putting green on the planet, which needs green, you know? And the river is the draw.
It's not just necessarily the amount of water that's important, it's also the quality of water, because water is a source of life for crops and wildlife downstream.
Wetlands are a natural filtration system for water. So as water travels through these fields and heads out to the Pacific Ocean, it's being cleansed through the vegetation that's present on site.
The wetlands here historically provided habitats for large numbers of shorebirds, waterfowl, and songbird species. The vast majority of the wetlands here in California have been lost or transformed due to agriculture or urbanization. The Wetland Reserve Program's mission is to restore wetlands for general wildlife species.
The Wetland Reserve Program is basically a conservation easement program. We are retiring the agricultural uses of the site. We pay a portion of the fee title value of the property, and we help the land restore it back to historic wetland conditions. So it's really a win-win for the public, the private landowner, and the bird.
This is where it all starts. NRCS strives to make sure that this water is clean when it makes it downstream. It's also abundant.
And we make it a priority that the water we receive from nature leaves our property in that same crystal clear state.
My mission is the water is clean now, is to keep it clean. There's ducks nest all over this place. There's birds by the jillions around here, and I just keep the wildlife in mind, whatever I do. The wildlife was here long before we were, and I just try to maintain it both ways.